Anna Rivers stepped out of the city bus, her simple tote bag swinging lightly from her shoulder. The early morning air clung damply to her skin, remnants of a brisk walk and a misty rain shower stretching over the skyline. She adjusted her plain blouse and straight-legged trousers, feeling the subtle humidity weigh on her clothes. Today wasn't about appearances, it was about presence. Steeling herself, Anna approached the gleaming glass doors of Kenson and Company, an elite corporate consulting firm known for its sharply polished image and exacting standards. Inside, the marble floors reflected the overhead lighting with harsh precision. Staff in tailored suits passed quickly, exchanged clipped greetings, and cast sidelong glances at Anna with a mix of curiosity and thinly veiled judgment. She noticed a few whispered comments, the weight of silent appraisal piercing more poignantly than any spoken word. To them, she was clearly just another temp, an outsider draped in casual modesty amid their reverence for conformity. Claire, the senior recruiter with a polished bob and a razor-sharp gaze, caught Anna's entrance from behind her desk. Without even a smile, Claire sized Anna up with a dismissive flick of her eyes. She spoke briskly and without pretense. "You're the temp for today, right? Well, start by fetching the coffee orders for my team. We're slammed." Her tone wasn't merely condescending, it crackled with mocking amusement, as if this menial task was an appropriate way to affirm Anna's supposed place beneath them. Anna's lips curved in a small, polite smile as she nodded silently. Of course. There was no rebuttal, no explanation. Just the quiet acceptance of a challenge far greater than any cup of coffee. Anna gave a slight nod to Claire's curt instruction and replied with a calm, measured voice, "I'll handle that." Her tone was neither resistant nor submissive, simply neutral, with an edge of quiet confidence. Without making eye contact or waiting for further instruction, she turned away from the recruitment desk, her footsteps steady and unhurried down the pristine office corridor. She didn't head toward the bustling break area where the coffee orders were being taken. Instead, Anna walked with purposeful strides in the opposite direction, toward the suite of executive offices. The hallway walls, lined with framed accolades and sleek abstract art, seemed to close in, but Anna's expression remained composed, her mind focused on the task far more important than fetching beverages for impatient recruiters. When she reached the entrance to the Human Resources Department, the door was ajar. Inside, Martin Kane stood reviewing a report. He glanced up as she entered, a warm and genuine smile spreading across his face. "Anna, glad you're here," he said, his tone inviting and respectful. "We've been ready for you to take the lead on this leadership session all morning." Anna returned his smile with ease. "Good to see you, Martin. Thank you for waiting." She placed her bag on the nearest chair and unfolded her notes, the carefully prepared agenda for the afternoon's leadership forum. Martin gestured for her to take a seat. "You're going to do great. The team's eager, some are even a little nervous about the changes you're leading." He paused, lowering his voice with a hint of pride. "I've heard great things from the regional offices about your work. Your reputation precedes you." Anna's face remained measured, but a flicker of satisfaction passed through her eyes. "I appreciate that. I'm here to help them grow, not just manage them. Leadership isn't about fitting a role, it's about inspiring a culture." Meanwhile, back at the recruiter's desk, Claire was absorbed in recounting the morning's events to a small group of her colleagues from the recruiting team. Her voice was loud enough to carry, tinged with amusement and self-satisfaction. "You should have seen it," Claire said, gesturing dramatically. "Little Miss Temp comes in, probably thinking she's tough, looking all serious in those generic clothes. I didn't even give her a second glance. Told her straight to get me coffee. Honestly, I can't believe some people actually get these gigs without knowing the ropes." The group chuckled, exchanging glances that mixed amusement with wary acknowledgement of Claire's typical arrogance. One junior recruiter, Paige, shifted uncomfortably. "You really think you handled that well? You might have underestimated her." Claire waved her off, clearly dismissive. "Underestimate? Never. Just calling it like it is. Some people just don't have what it takes to play in our league." But a few nearby staff members who overheard the exchange exchanged subtle looks, some with raised eyebrows, others with a flicker of concern. Claire's reputation for hubris was well known, and although few dared challenge her openly, murmurs among the staff suggested that her attitude could create friction if unchecked. Back in the HR suite, Anna and Martin discussed the session's structure. He handed her a tablet loaded with profiles of the leadership participants and key discussion points they'd identified through surveys and interviews. "They need new direction, Anna. They're used to saying one thing and doing another. Your approach, straightforward, authentic, is exactly what's missing here." Anna flipped through the profiles thoughtfully. "The first step is setting a tone of trust. People won't follow a leader they feel judges them before they've even spoken." Martin nodded emphatically. "We've seen too much of that. People tiptoeing around old hierarchies and politics. We need real dialogue. That's why your presence is so crucial today." They finalized the preparations while Anna's mind drifted briefly to Claire's mocking tone and the initial dismissal. She understood the mindset, an environment bottled up in appearances and titles. But that was exactly why she'd made her choices this morning. To challenge those assumptions quietly, without confrontation. After a final review, Anna stood, smoothing her blouse over the waistband of her trousers. "I'll head to the conference room now. Let's get this day started." Martin smiled again, a mix of reassurance and expectation. "Good luck." He knew Anna didn't need it, but the sentiment was sincere. She left the HR office and made her way toward the large glass door of the conference room where the leadership session was scheduled. Along the way, a few employees glanced her way, questions written across their faces, but Anna's focused presence seemed to slowly dispel the early judgment still lingering in the air. Back at the recruiter's desk, Claire was still recounting her morning ordeal. She leaned back in her chair, smirking to herself. Honestly, that little stunt with the coffee run was priceless. She'll learn her place soon enough, everyone does. Paige bit her lip, uneasy. "You sure you got it right? I thought Martin seemed pretty friendly with her. He's the one running HR, after all." Claire shrugged, masking a hint of annoyance. "Martin doesn't run the whole show. He's got to keep things civil. I'm the one who sees what's really going on the floor. Don't worry, we've got this covered." But the doubt teased the edges of her confidence as she returned to her work, unwilling to admit the uncertainty stirring beneath the surface. Meanwhile, Anna stood outside the conference room with a few colleagues assigned to assist her. They exchanged brief greetings, subtly shifting into their roles under her calm direction. Anna's voice retained its quiet authority. "Let's ensure everything is ready before the team arrives. I want their full attention and active participation." As the employees gradually filtered into the room, tension mixed with curiosity buzzed in the air, a leadership team used to traditional hierarchies now wondering who this understated woman was and what she intended to do. Behind the scenes, Claire's dismissal had become a whispered anecdote, but Anna's presence would soon transform whispers into something much more powerful. The stage was set for a shift in power, and for Anna Rivers to command the respect that had initially been denied to her. The glass conference room doors slid open quietly as the leadership team began to enter the space. A mix of senior managers and department heads filtered in, adjusting their tailored blazers or smoothing hair with practiced precision. The usual hum of polite but cautious chatter filled the room as people exchanged nods and occasional smiles. The atmosphere carried the faint buzz of anticipation, as if the team sensed that something different was about to unfold today. Claire remained at her desk nearby, attempting to focus on her computer screen, but a discomforting itch of curiosity nibbled at her. The memory of the morning's dismissal of Anna Rivers hovered uneasily in the back of her mind. Then, unexpectedly, Claire's phone vibrated with an incoming message. Please come to HR office at your earliest convenience. Martin Kane. The tone was formal, devoid of explanation, and instantly Claire's confident facade faltered. A sinking feeling settled in her stomach as she closed her laptop and made her way toward the Human Resources suite. As she rounded the corner near reception, Claire's breath caught silently. Seated just outside the HR conference room was Anna Rivers, her posture relaxed, eyes focused on a tablet where she reviewed documents intently. The woman Claire had arrogantly dismissed barely an hour before now occupied a space reserved for the company's decision-makers. For a heartbeat, Claire simply stared, disbelief freezing her movements. Her lips parted but no words came out. The pride she had worn like armor dissolved into something colder, embarrassment, maybe even shock. Anna glanced up, sensing the presence without looking up fully, her expression unreadable but undeniably composed. Summoning her equilibrium, Claire swallowed hard and stepped into the HR office as the door opened silently beside Anna. Martin Kane stood by his desk, arms folded. "Claire, please sit," he said evenly, his voice betraying no judgment but clear authority. "We'll be discussing your conduct earlier today." Claire's eyes flicked momentarily to Anna before settling on Martin. Her defenses rose instinctively. "I don't see what the problem is. She's a temp. I was just managing expectations." Her words sounded less convinced than intended. Martin shook his head slowly. "That temp is our new director of leadership development, Claire. She started today and has scheduled a leadership session that begins very shortly. You dismissed her without a second glance or any verification, treating her as subordinate staff when she holds a senior leadership role." Claire's cheeks flushed crimson as the full implications sank in. Her voice faltered. I didn't realize." "She didn't say." Martin interrupted softly but firmly. "Part of leadership is treating every colleague with respect, regardless of appearance or assumed status. Your behavior today has been noted and will impact your role here." Meanwhile, in the conference room, the buzz of quiet excitement swelled as Martin rose and approached the front of the room. Anna stood beside him, tall and calm, eyes scanning the assembled group. The initial murmurs faded under the weight of their presence. Martin cleared his throat to begin. "Thank you all for coming. Today, we welcome a new leader to our team, Anna Rivers, our new Director of Leadership Development." A ripple of surprise moved through the room. Heads turned to Anna. Some faces registered shock, others curiosity. Anna smiled gently. "Good morning. I'm honored to be here and excited to work with all of you. I know new leaders can bring uncertainty, but I'm here to listen, to support, and to challenge us all to grow together." Claire, still reeling from her meeting, had returned toward her desk but paused just inside the conference room's entrance, covertly watching Anna take command of the room with a smooth and assured grace. Anna continued, "I'm here to help us discover common strength, break down barriers, and ensure every voice is heard, not just the loudest or the most polished. Leadership is more than position, it's action, integrity, and trust." Several managers exchanged glances, their earlier skepticism melting into attentiveness. Martin nodded toward Anna, signaling her to lead the session. She moved to the center of the room with calm authority, pulling up her prepared presentation. The lights dimmed slightly, and a soft glow illuminated the strategic framework she had designed, fresh ideas about collaboration, empowerment, and organizational culture. Throughout her opening remarks, Anna spoke with brevity and clarity. Her voice carried beyond the polished walls, connecting firmly without pretense. As she outlined the goals and invited participation, the group leaned in, ready to engage and reconsider outdated perceptions. Back at Claire's desk, the silence surrounding her was thick. Staff members, who once hinted at her dominance, now looked away or avoided her gaze. The balance of power had shifted without fanfare, quietly, decisively. In the hallway, Paige, the junior recruiter who had voiced some doubt earlier, whispered to a colleague, "I think Claire's learned a lesson today. You don't underestimate people based on surface impressions." As the leadership session moved into interactive discussions and teamwork exercises under Anna's clear guidance, the room's energy changed palpably. Respect replaced skepticism. Authority was no longer presumed by title or attire, but earned through presence and competence. Anna Rivers had arrived, not with fanfare or ceremony, but by calmly stepping into her rightful place, and the company, its leadership, and even Claire were forced to see her anew. Anna addressed the leadership team with a quiet confidence that filled the room without overwhelming it. Her tone was calm, authoritative, and measured, an effortless balance that commanded attention without demanding it. She began by expressing appreciation for the team's time and the opportunity to work together. Her brief introduction was more than a formality, it was a focused invitation to collaboration and growth. To lead effectively, Anna said, her voice steady, we must first understand where we stand and what qualities will carry us forward. This requires honesty, humility, and a clear vision, not just from those seated here but from every individual who contributes to our culture and success. Martin Kane stepped forward and took a moment to outline Anna's credentials, providing the leadership team with context that immediately reframed their perspective. Anna Rivers is joining us after a distinguished career in leadership development and executive coaching. She has designed and implemented transformative programs at global firms, including an award-winning initiative that increased employee engagement across multiple continents. Before this, she led a consulting team in Europe, working directly with Fortune 500 clients to foster inclusive and agile leadership cultures. As Martin spoke, the subtle shift in the room's atmosphere was unmistakable. The faint smirks and sideways glances from before were replaced by attentive nods and quiet acknowledgement. Some of the more skeptical managers exchanged glances of realization, their prior doubts washed away by the weight of Anna's accomplishments. She was not the temp they'd thought, she was a seasoned professional, a force well respected in her field. Anna, sensing the changed mood, allowed herself a small, genuine smile before continuing. I understand my appearance this morning was atypical for a director here. I came straight from a mentoring session with young entrepreneurs, and I chose simple attire deliberately, she explained. Why? Because I wanted to observe the office culture without the shield of polished appearances. It's vital to see how people treat one another before titles and clothes influence perceptions. What I learned in these few hours is that respect and professionalism go both ways. There was a pause as her words settled across the room. She had subtly exposed the bias without direct confrontation, forcing the group to reflect on their initial judgments. Some faces flushed slightly, while others looked down thoughtfully. Anna moved quickly to set expectations for the session. Today isn't about me standing in front of you giving speeches. It's about dialogue, engagement, and collective growth. We will explore ways to strengthen trust, encourage open communication, and align our actions with our values. My role is to facilitate, guide, and challenge when necessary. The group leaned into the collaborative spirit she fostered. The initial exercises she led encouraged sharing of challenges and successes among the managers, creating an environment of honesty that had been missing. Anna's approach was gentle yet firm, steering conversations with deft questions and active listening that made participants feel heard and valued. During a break, a few of the senior managers approached Anna individually, expressing appreciation and interest in her fresh perspective. They shared anecdotes about frustrations with existing leadership silos and a desire for more authentic teamwork. Anna responded with thoughtful insights, drawing on her global experience while emphasizing adaptability to their unique company culture. As the session resumed, Anna introduced a framework focused on inclusive leadership practices designed to empower every team member regardless of rank or background. She outlined concrete strategies to cultivate psychological safety, improve feedback loops, and foster innovation by breaking down hierarchies. Her presence was magnetic but understated. She did not dominate the room but inspired it. The leaders engaged eagerly, the energy shifting from guarded professionalism to enthusiastic participation and genuine curiosity. Claire's earlier mockery was nowhere to be seen. Instead, some of the participants glanced at the conference room entrance, where she stood hesitating briefly, clearly uncertain whether to interrupt or retreat. Her eyes caught Anna's poised figure, commanding respect effortlessly. After a moment, Claire backed away quietly, her posture defeated yet thoughtful. In her opening remarks, Anna had also shared a glimpse of her values: humility, authenticity, and leading by example. These were not empty phrases but operating principles she lived by, as reflected in her deliberate choice to dress simply to challenge preconceptions. She underscored that leadership wasn't about formalities or outward polish but about engaging people's hearts and minds. Power comes not from appearances or titles but from earned trust and consistent action, she told them, reinforcing her belief in substance over style. The leadership team began to see not just a capable director but a role model with a clear vision for transforming the company into a place where true collaboration thrived. Her words and actions stitched a newfound cohesion, replacing skepticism with respect. By the end of the session, Anna summarized the goals and next steps, laying out a roadmap that blended measurable outcomes with cultural shifts. She assigned responsibilities tactfully, balancing accountability with encouragement. Before closing, she shared a final thought: what we do together now shapes the future of the company and affects every person here. Leadership is a journey, and I'm honored to walk it with you. A ripple of applause followed, not out of obligation but sincere acknowledgement. The energy in the room was vibrant and hopeful. Afterward, as the group dispersed into smaller conversations, Martin caught Anna's eye and gave a subtle nod of approval. "You handled that perfectly. Your approach will change things here." Anna's smile was quiet but satisfied. "It's a start," she replied. "Now the real work begins." In those first few hours, Anna Rivers had not only dismantled the misguided assumptions about her but had set a powerful example of leadership grounded in authenticity, respect, and vision. The polished corporate world of Kenson and Company was beginning to see her not just as their new director, but as the catalyst for meaningful change. The afternoon sun slanted through the tall windows of Kenson and Company's sleek headquarters as the day's leadership session drew to a close. The atmosphere had shifted significantly from the tentative unease of the morning to an energized buzz of optimism and thoughtful engagement. Employees poured out of the conference room in small groups, their conversations lively as they digested Anna Rivers' strategies and vision. Meanwhile, Claire sat in a private meeting room with Martin Kane and the head of Human Resources, Lisa Chen. The tone of the meeting was firm but fair, an evaluative conversation rather than a punitive one. Claire's usual confident air was markedly diminished, replaced by a flicker of nervousness she did her best to suppress. Martin began. "Claire, your behavior this morning was inappropriate and counterproductive. Dismissing Anna Rivers as a temp without verifying her role reflects poor judgment and disrespect. This company values professionalism at all levels, and that includes how we treat colleagues regardless of their outward appearance." Lisa nodded. Given your history of similar incidents, we're implementing a formal performance review and mandating you attend leadership and inclusivity training. Additionally, as a consequence of today's conduct, you will be removed from key recruitment duties temporarily. This is to allow focus on improvement and to rebuild trust within the team. Claire swallowed hard, realizing that the repercussions were serious but also aware that resistance would only worsen her standing. "I understand," she said quietly, "and I appreciate the opportunity to address these concerns. I didn't intend disrespect, only to maintain standards." Martin's eyes softened slightly. "Intent matters, but impact matters more. We're confident with reflection and effort you can grow. However, continuing to undermine respect for colleagues will not be tolerated." Across the office floor, murmurs spread about the morning's events. The recruitment team and other employees, who had previously tolerated or even admired Claire's arrogance, now shifted subtly in their attitudes. Soft apologies were exchanged around water coolers. Some colleagues stopped Claire in hallways to offer tentative greetings, signaling their cautious support for the leadership changes. Paige, the junior recruiter who had earlier expressed discomfort with Claire's behavior, approached Anna as she prepared to leave the conference room. "Ms. Rivers, I just want to say thank you. Your session today really opened my eyes. It feels like a fresh start for all of us." Anna smiled warmly. "Thank you, Paige. Leadership is about growth, for all of us, regardless of rank. Keep speaking up, voices like yours help shape the future here." The day ended with Anna walking through the gleaming corridors of Kenson and Company, her strides measured and self-assured. Staff members she passed offered nods and polite smiles that held more warmth than before. At one point, she found herself passing by Claire, who was packing up her desk in subdued silence. Their eyes met briefly. Anna gave a small, civil nod, a gesture acknowledging that while wounds might yet linger, there was space for professionalism moving forward. Claire hesitated, then returned a thin nod, a sign that lessons had been learned, even if unspoken. As Anna reached the elevator lobby, she allowed herself a subtle breath of relief and satisfaction. The hard work was only beginning, reshaping a culture, earning trust, and driving sustainable change, but the foundation had been laid. With a last glance back inside the office, where her new team now looked up to her not as a shadowy figure but a visible leader, Anna stepped into the elevator and pressed the button. Her presence had transformed from the underestimated temp to the rightful and respected leader. Today was their first chapter together, and Anna Rivers was ready to lead it with authority, fairness, and humility.